Tuesday, 2nd of August 2022. This edition of This and That and What the Fuck, I'm going to talk a bit about some of the dangers that is brewing on the horizon for all the people of the world. We've got a problem with leadership that is totally disconnected from the people that they are supposed to represent. I'm going to start with this one from John Mearsheimer. Now, he is a well-respected commentator, and when he speaks, it's worth your while to take note of what he is saying. I like the nervous laughter from Australian audience when John Mearsheimer told them that if they choose to be friendly with China, the US will show them how nasty it can be. Now, this is something that I think the Australians really need to take note of. They are positioned well geographically to suit the Americans in their constant prodding of the dragon. And it may be that one morning the Australians wake up and find themselves that they are in a proxy war with China. And as we all know, that will not turn out well for the Australians. Because I've seen articles where there's now an issue with submarines that Australia was supposed to buy from France and then bought from America. And guys, this warmongering is costing the people of the world a lot. Now, this next article is something to think about and maybe frown, maybe smile. We all know that Erdogan from Turkey has taken the northern part of Syria as a buffer zone, as he called it. And a few weeks ago there were strong stories where he threatened to take a bigger buffer zone. The problem that Erdogan has got in Syria is that Russia is supporting Assad, and Russia is supporting the legitimate government of Syria. So any invasion that Turkey do will be frowned upon by the Russians. Now we can see that Erdogan is playing his cards and he's sitting now comfortably on the fence. Playing the EU, playing NATO, playing the Russians, playing America. And all the time trying to get as much out of the deal as he can. On the one hand, he provides the Ukraine with drones, and on the other hand, he wants to sell drones to Russia. The thing that was, for me, really interesting to watch is when Putin went to Iran, and he also met with Erdogan there. And I thought to myself, I wonder what's going to happen in Syria now. Erdogan is making all sorts of aggressive noises about taking more land in the north of Syria. But that will mean he's going to run into a conflict with the Russians. And it seems to me that Putin has whispered in the man's ears. Turkey vows to work with Syria against terrorists. Turkey's top diplomat has pledged to assist the Syrian government in efforts to oust Kurdish fighters based in the country northeast, regarded as terrorists by Ankara, despite a recent spike in tensions after Turkey made good on threats to take military action on its own. Now you can stop it and read it, the whole article. The main point from this is Turkey has now suddenly changed its tune. I think he is watching what's happening in the Ukraine and it makes him a little bit less cocky. Then obviously I have to mention China again. Beijing fumes as US strike group returns to South China Sea. The USS Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier and strike group have redeployed to the South China Sea amidst simmering tensions over House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's possible visit to Taiwan. Yeah, I don't know what exactly does the neocons hope to achieve here. They are constantly prodding and poking Beijing. And I have said it in previous Skidmarks, something that they will have to take seriously into consideration is that Beijing will definitely not be as rational and tolerant as Moscow. The Americans is looking for trouble here. And last night I went through a thread on Twitter where there was some promotional video was played of the Chinese army. And the reality of the Chinese army is, it is a damn big army. It's a very big army, and that army is damn well armed. And it was, to me, an eye-opener to see the arrogance of the Americans that responded in that thread. The reality is the Chinese has got basically a bigger military in manpower than what the whole US population is. I don't know how they think this is going to turn out for them. And then still in China. Don't play with fire over Taiwan. China Xi warns in call with Biden. Those who play with fire will perish by it. China's foreign ministry quoted Xi as telling Biden in their fifth call as leaders, it is hoped that the US will be clear-eyed about this. And yes, you can read the rest if you want to. The basic thing here is the Chinese are warning and warning and warning. The problem is that the Chinese has now gone so far out on the limb, they can't turn back. They have boxed themselves now in with their attitude towards America, and they can't turn back. And those stupid newcons sitting in the shithouse, they keep on stoking the fire. I don't know what the hell they hope to achieve. I cannot understand this thing of the Americans. They forever, all over the world, busy stoking fires of war. Everywhere. They have turned into warmongering global terrorists. That is what they are. And people don't want to accept it. I don't know how this is going to work out for the Americans in the long run, because from what I know of the average American, they are good people. They are industrious people. And they are, most of them, are people with good principles. But they have been hijacked by those neocon, libtard, gender-confused idiots in Washington. And they are being towed into a war with China that is going to turn out very bad for the whole world. Something must happen in America. I don't think the American population wants to go there mentally, but something serious should happen there. America is not going to survive another 2 years under that administration. And then here is a tweet from who else? From Nancy Pelosi. And this woman better open her eyes. The newcons are going to use her as a proxy, and this is going to turn out horribly wrong for her. I'm leading a congressional delegation to the Indo-Pacific to reaffirm America's unshakable commitment to our allies and friends in the region. In Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, Japan, we'll hold high-level meetings to discuss how we can further our shared interests and values. Yes, notably, Taiwan is not in that little list, but we know how they can lie and bullshit. The problem that I have with this whole thing is, in these words, to reaffirm America's unshakable commitment to our allies and friends. That to be America's friend can be fatal. Well, let's see where this fiasco is going. And then here is a post that was made on Twitter, and it is about the pestilence. If the word democracy actually meant what the narrative portrays, we would never have experienced the lockstep reaction to the pandemic. We would never have rolled out the insecticide. There would never have been forced masking. Our kids would never have been sacrificed. Never. Now, you must think about what this person is saying here, because it is absolutely stunning how every country in the free world, mostly in the West, did exactly the same thing. And that is actually impossible, because every country has got different cultures and different things. And it should never have been so synchronized as this. but we have to just accept the fact this was a great scheme that was pulled on us, the citizens. And now we are in the EU. Daily Express. The sanctions war must be stopped or the European continent risks plunging into the biggest financial crisis in history. Inflation jumped to 8.9%, with the euro falling to parity against the dollar for the first time in 20 years. Suicide. Russia's sanctions doing more damage to Europe. Financial crash fears surge. The European Union has been repeatedly warning the brutal sanctions against Russia for the war in Ukraine are inflicting more damage on Europe amid fears the continent could crash to its biggest financial crisis ever. Well, they didn't want to listen. Ursula von der Crazy was solid into the seat, buckled up and strapped down, and this is where it's going. That plane is not going to land safely. And then something more. The President of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Crazy, it is important to reduce the escalation and return to the negotiating table in order to find a sustainable solution. The only way to do this is through dialogue with the assistance of the EU to resolve the current crisis. What the hell is this woman talking about? It was the EU that started this crisis, and it was the EC with her at the helm that were fuming the flames. They have unfortunately reached now a point where the Russians don't trust them anymore. I don't know how they're going to get out of this, and I've said it previously, the only way is they must get onto a plane, fly to Moscow, sit in front of Putin and say, sorry, we screwed up. How can we fix this? And then shut up and listen. Of course there will be responses to that post. This fool of a woman has caused the EU economy to crash and burn over the past 5 months, while believing her own and Germany's propaganda about how powerful EU, US, UK, NATO were at some point in the distant past. Her rank stupidity has led to the death of tens of thousands. And you can see this guy is really angry. And then here comes the voice of reason in Europe. The only leader with common sense and decency and a responsibility towards his country and his people. PM Viktor Orban of Hungary will reach a gas deal with Russia by the end of summer. Unlike Chancellor Schulz of Germany and most other European leaders, Orban is not in the mood to commit economic suicide. And it is important to take note of that. The rest of Europe, the EU, the citizens there are going to wish they had a leader like Viktor Orban. And then there's this little message. Islanders call the German government to resume Nord Stream 2 certification amid gas crisis. You can read the whole article. The main thing is this. More and more people of the EU are beginning to make their voices heard. This sanction war against Russia was outright crazy from the word go, and it is backfiring like hell, and the Russian economy is doing well, and the Russian citizens don't have an energy crisis and they don't have a food crisis. This is not going to turn out well for the EU. And then more from Ursula von der Crazy. We must remain united because the only ones responsible for this energy crisis are in Moscow and nowhere else. Considering that Russia has already partially or completely halted gas supplies to 12 EU member states, we must all be prepared for the worst. This type of talk from this type of person, this is a crazy woman. They started the sanctions war. She was one of the ones that made loud noises about we don't want any Russian gas from and then some date in the future or what. How the hell did they think the Russians will respond to that? Russia sits and they're selling this gas to Europe. Obviously it's an important business for them. And then they must hear these threats that this client of theirs are going to stop using their product in some time in the future. Obviously the Russians had to take steps. But this is the old story of that easy cabal. Blame Putin, blame Russia, blame Putin, blame Russia. In the meantime, they are the ones that are doing the damage to the EU. And there was a response to that. The liar lion. European countries must grow balls and do what is best for their own countries. Lion must be ignored. She is toxic. And here comes a new shitstorm in the EU. New war fronts are opening up like hot dog stands in street corners. There is a new one every week, it seems. Firestorm on the border of Serbia-Kosovo. Civil defense sirens are sounding. Clashes of Albanians and Serbs. A Vucic delivers a message. What the hell is going on with that, Europeans? And this message was something that disturbed me. And child screams as Dutch police batten the public on orders of the mayor for showing a mural of no farmers, no food. I watched the videos on Twitter about this and on Telegram. And it looks like the public in the Netherlands are beginning to fight back against the police. Unfortunately, they are also in a position that they've been disarmed. But when I saw how those people resisted the police and drove them back over their little bridge and so forth, it gave me hope for Europe. It is time, and I mentioned that the people should take those batons from the police and whip them until they understand who they must protect. It is time that the public make the police understand that the police force are not the tools of the politicians. The police force are there to protect the citizens. And then I'm going to show this map again. Take a look at the map, look carefully, and think, this is what the World Economic Front and the newcons and the globalists has in mind for Russia. Look at that. Chip it up in little pieces. And this is what Putin is resisting. And any person with half a brain would have to accept that crazy people is going to drive the world to World War III. And all Putin is doing, he is protecting his country. Now we come to that moment, that what a fuck. And this is actually sickening. And you must look at this very objectively and understand the underlying message that is being given to us. German zoo experiments with robot dog exhibit. I'm not going to read that whole thing. You can read it yourself. The reality here is, look what these sick, psychotic, psychopath globalists are doing. They are pushing people to accept unnatural shit as natural. Children must go to a zoo to look at robots in a cage. What crap is that? This is a what a fuck, a serious what a fuck. The people better wake up. It was on the same script that they enticed the people to take the snake poison, and they enticed the people to accept being locked in their homes and abandoning their businesses and ruining their own lives. This is what they are doing to us. If we do not wake up, we are doomed. And on that absolute shit note, please like, subscribe, share. I can't take this shit any longer. This is crazy. You must go and look at a zoo at a robot. Damn mad people.